This is question 16 from the second CSAT sample paper. So we've got a list x1 to x8, and the entries in the list are 11 to 18 in some order. Well, it doesn't really matter what these are, it's just we've got 8 things which are labelled somehow. But we don't know what the order of the entries is. So we can ask for any of these xi, so we could ask for x2 and x3, and it would return 2 numbers, but not necessarily in the same order as x2 and x3. So we asked, how few questions can we ask in order to find out exactly what each of the entries is? So if you want to have a go at this question yourself, pause the video now. Okay, so first it's worth noting, if we had 8 questions, then we could definitely find. We just asked for x1 and then for x2, etc. So we definitely want our answer to be less than 8. What looks promising to me is, suppose, if you play around with this for a while, you might notice, suppose I ask for the first 4 entries, so x1 to x4. So it's going to give me 4 numbers in some jumbled up order. But since I know the first 4 numbers, I also know the last 4 numbers. So as soon as I learn about any 4 numbers, I learn about the other 4. So basically I can, by asking about 4 of the entries, I can split it into 2 halves. And I know which entries are in which half. And in theory, if I did that 3 times, there are 8 possibilities for each one each time. I can halve that each time, and halving something 3 times gives me 1, so there's only 1 possibility left. So I'm saying, asking for 4, any 4 of those entries, sorts all the numbers into 2 halves, and it halves the number of possibilities for each one. And since 1/8 is a half cubed, I want to ask 3 questions, it looks like. You might think, well, maybe you could ask fewer than that. You could ask 2 questions and not ask for 4 and 4. Like you might ask for 2 and 6, and maybe that would allow you to ask 2 questions. But the problem is, if you ask for, say, 2, then you know 1 set of 2 and you know 1 set of 6. And in that set of 6, if you ask another question, you can't possibly reduce the number of possibilities for each of those 6 entries by 1/6. So you can't work out each of those 6 entries. The 2 entries, when you split it into 2 and 6, the first 2 entries that you asked about, those you could find out with the second question, but the remaining 6 you can't. So it looks like 3 is the minimum we can hope for. We just have to figure out how to do it. And I mentioned splitting our 8 things into halves. So the point here is to try and split into halves again and again, so that we know where each entry is. So first it doesn't actually matter which sets of 4 we split into, so first let's just split it in half like this. So we ask for the first 4, and now we know which half each entry is in. And now let's split it again, but we don't want to repeat information, so we want to get as much information as possible each time. Well, we just said we split this in half, and then we basically halve the possibilities for each of these. So suppose I take this set of 4 and halve that, then that would halve the possibilities again. So I don't want to do that by asking for the first 2. That would halve this set, but it wouldn't do anything to this set. What I want to do is halve both sets. So what I could do there is ask for the first 2 and the last 2, and then suppose it gave me 11, 12, 13, 14 for the first 4, and I ask for the first 2 and the last 2, and it gives me 11, 12, 17, 18. Well, I know 17 and 18 are in this half, and 11 and 12 are in this half. So that actually tells me that 11 and 12 are these 2, and 17 and 18 are these 2. So because I already know which half everything is in, if I ask for the first 2 and the last 2, I then know which quarter each pair is in. So now we want to split all of these sets into half. So we want to halve all of these. So how could we do that? Bear in mind we know which are in each pair. So if we ask for the first and the third and the fifth and the seventh, well then suppose the answers I get are 11 and 13 and 15 and 17. I know 11 and 12 are the first two, and therefore the first one has to be 11 because it can't be 13 or 15 or 17. And likewise I'm going to learn exactly what this one is because I knew which two were in here. So only one of the answers I get could be this one, and likewise this one, and likewise this one. So that fixes these four. And then because I knew what each pair was, that fixes this one, this one, this one, and this one. So asking those three questions will completely determine the order of the entries. So I'll just copy in the set of instructions. First we ask for 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we could do this a couple of ways. We can ask for 1, 2, 7, 8, or we could ask for 1, 2, 5, 6, as I wrote here. And then we can just ask for all the odd ones, or we could ask for all the even ones. As long as we keep splitting these pairs into half each time. But these three questions will completely determine the answer. So 3 is enough.